How you doing? Thought we talk about time again. We come from a different angle about the creation of time, and this will take us into even as far as the Garden of Eden. Yeah. And we talked about the hippopotamus goddess, how she swept out, let's say, a circle. We say a circle about the pole in 1 year. She's the mother of time, you see. And we came to the idea that time was very important for the human being. Everything we do is based on time. Where did time really come from? We'll answer that question too. We'll answer it right now. We say that time was cut out of eternity. That's where it came from. Okay? Time and eternity are two different things. Well, time has been taken out of eternity for our use, for the use of the human being, at least methodologically. Would we use it? Okay. The woman uncovered time due to noticing her own physiology. You see? Okay. So we're getting the idea of time. But now we have, let's say we have the ancient god Ptah, P-T-A-H. And Ptah had a son named Atum. And Ptah said that he wanted to make a garden for his son Atum. Oh, that sounds nice. When we think of a garden, we think of a place maybe of leisure, rest, peace, and a place maybe where we plant some seeds. Maybe the seeds of reasoning. But anyway, how did Ptah create this garden? Well, wait a minute. They say that Ptah carved a tunnel through the earth. Yeah? So that the solar god could travel all around. Oh, that sounds good. He did something for the solar god. He made way for the solar god to travel all around. Okay. He got a tunnel, but now, what else does he do? Well, Ptah takes a pole, a real long pole, and he sticks this pole right up through the earth. Yeah, all the way up to the sky. The northern sky down to the southern sky. And we got a pole to go right on up there. Now what happened? Well, we know the pole was in the earth now, going right on up to the sky. Well, we know that our earth travels around the sun. It orbits the sun. Now remember we got a pole in the earth. So now the earth is orbiting the sun with a pole sticking up out of it. So here's the earth, my fist. And this thumb right here is the pole. Use your imagination with me now. This is the pole. So when the earth goes around the sun, we know it wobbles. We call it declination, right? It wobbles as it goes around. And it creates a big circle in the sky because the pole dips down, comes around, and so forth and so on. It creates a circle in the sky, way up there in the heavens. And this circle, of course, encloses space. Yeah, like all circles do. Within this enclosure is the garden that Ptah said he was going to make for his son Atum. Okay? So they call this circle, or this place, Pa, P-A. Okay? Pa, P-A. Pa means existence, and it means like to be, to exist. Okay? Now, this is the same as the Garden of Eden, or the Elysian Fields of the Greeks, or the Eru Gardens of the Kemites. You see? So Pa, P-A, is another name for this garden that Ptah made for his son, Atum. And that's how he made it, you see. But his son Atum eventually becomes Atum Ra. Ra is the solar god, the sun god. Okay? But when Ptah dug that tunnel through the earth, he said he was doing it so that the sun god could travel all around the heaven. You see? And so the sun Atum eventually, as I said, becomes Atum Ra. Now, this Ra, the solar god, is associated with reasoning skills. Okay? So, the garden, okay, is associated with reasoning skills. Well, yeah, we plant seeds in the garden, so somebody planted the seeds of reasoning. Maybe it was Atum, because he benefited from it. He becomes the solar god Atum Ra. So actually, or we say he, Atum, picked up reasoning skills in the garden. He must have got them from the sun god Ra. Ra is a reasoning god. Masculine, fire, that's reasoning skills there. These two things are some of the symbols, a couple of symbols of reasoning skills. Okay? And water is associated with the opposite emotion. Water and emotion, okay, are like similar. Or the same thing, really, in the mythology. Okay? So now we've got Atum as a reasoning god. Okay? But we mentioned earlier in the other talk that reasoning, to be really valid, must be based on knowledge. Yeah. Oh, you can base it on lies if you want. Some people get around to doing that too. But we want it to be valid. We base it on knowledge. We base it on facts. Okay? Knowledge. So, we talked about the reptilian brain that's in us, and that this reptilian brain emits impulses. Now, the reptile lives by instinct. Instincts don't lie. Instincts come with the truth. That's all they can do. They don't lie. So now, the god Atum has now developed some reasoning skills. He receives the impulses of knowledge from the reptilian within us, and so he reasons based on knowledge. You see? So now Atum becomes Atum Ra, and Atum Ra is a chief god. There was a cult of Atum. You see? And so we see now how Atum could have his cult. He became the chief god. So he had all the knowledge now of all the gods that preceded him. So he becomes the chief god, Atum Ra, in the cult of Atum. Okay. So we see now that the god Ptah fixed his son up with a garden. The son acquired reasoning skills and so forth and became a chief god. But what happened to the hippopotamus goddess, Apt, who was there first? She's the one who made the circle. She was the crossover. You know, the crossover, the one who completes the circle and starts all over again, returns to complete another circle. So she was the crossover. But now Atum Ra becomes the crossover. Of course, Ptah created the circle up there in the sky so that the god Ra could travel all around. He goes in a circle like the goddess, the hippopotamus goddess used to do, the Big Dipper, what goes in a circle. The tail of the Big Dipper carves out a circle in the heavens. Well, Ptah did it, he put a pole up through the earth and did the same thing as the hippopotamus goddess. But what happened to the hippopotamus goddess? Her name was Apt. Her name was Apt. Then Ptah was one of the gods that told the goddess of heaven that she was no longer chief, and that he was taken over as the chief of heaven, and he became the chief god. So he kicked Apt out and her son. Whose name was Sut, S-U-T, Sut. He kicked them both out and made them bad gods. Turned the world, all the people against them, and called them the devil. So that's what happened to her. And women suffer from that today. All along, women have suffered, we call it misogyny. She suffered. And to this day, she's fighting, trying to get her position back as the Queen of Heaven. Okay, we'll talk more about this later. Hope it was meaningful to you.